interest in art was early influenced by my father because he worked at a company that recycled books into paper, and these were books that were not vendable. They couldn't sell them. And my father had overall a third grade education, and he had a reverence for books, any books. And sometimes he'd bring boxes of books home that he thought, these books are salvageable. And at an early age, I started reading. I read a lot of books. And some of the best books that he would bring home were about birds, Audubon books, colorful. And I think now if I had some of those books, they'd be worth a lot of money. But anyway, so my father instilled in me not just a reverence for art and reading and knowledge, but hard work. And I saw all of this at an early age. It influenced me. So I picked up carpentry from my father and my grandfather. This was, in those days, you worked 2 jobs and you still did side jobs. And I believe his side jobs doing cabinetry and doors and things like that was his real joy, and I picked up on that too. As a young man, living at home with my parents, from the age of probably 8 to 12, we never owned a home. My father, it was 8 of us, and my father always worked double shifts. And when he'd come home at night, being a light sleeper, I'd hear him come in, and this would always be after 1 o'clock in the morning. And he would come in, I'd take his boots off, take his bag, and he'd ask me how was my day. And this was our time. We would talk. It was 8 kids. I was like 3rd from the youngest, and this was time I looked forward to help my dad take his boots off and talk about how his day was. And then as he was talking, he'd take his pocket knife out of his pocket, and he'd have a wooden spool. In those days, thread came on these spools. They were probably 4 inches wide, 2 inches in diameter, tapered in. He'd take his pocket knife out, cut little notches in the spool, and pull out a popsicle stick and a rubber band, take a piece of inner tube, cut a couple circles out of it, put this together, wind it up, and it would crawl across the table like a little tractor. He called it a caterpillar. I mean, he'd do all this in like 5 minutes. Impressed the heck out of me. So I, look forward to these times, and sometimes we draw pictures. And now again, this man, he worked double shifts, had basically a 3rd grade education. But to me, the things he would tell me, the lessons he taught me were very important, and the love of learning came from my father as far as reading and books and learning. See, now this is the thing about my father you have to understand. He made furniture. He built all types of wood framing for garages and sheds and things like that. And he used to always tell me, if you're going to build something, take your time. Make sure the wood is straight. Check the grain in the wood. So I learned from him even then and I built a doghouse when I was a kid, and I used some of my father's tools. And my father always chose hand tools over power tools when he could. Now, if he had to use a circular saw, of course he would. But nail guns, no. As a matter of fact, my father made quite a few of his tools. He made mallets, because he did some sculpting. He made, and I made my mallets. He made planes, which I still have. Now, I haven't endeavored to make a plane yet. That's I don't know if that is something that I have that much patience for right now, but I think that might be something I would want to do at some point in the future, make a plane. The tools that I use that my father owned, when I use these tools, this is when I want to be really precise. And I can tell you, there are draw knives that my grandfather had that my father used and I use now. And I'm sure it's because the tools are made to fit. You make your tools to fit your hand. And genetically, my hands are almost identical to my father's. As a matter of fact, when my father passed away and I went to say my goodbyes, the thing that struck me the most was his hands, the way his hands were folded across his chest. I looked at his hands and I looked at my hands, and we had almost identical scars on the same knuckles in the same places. And it said a lot to me about the kind of work he did and I do using this hand tools that we use like planes, draw knives. There was something he said to me. I remember I was about 16. He told me, he said, and my father called me Skip, only person who ever called me Skip. He said, Skip, you can, this is what my father spoke to, by the way. He said, you can beat the furniture, you can beat the wood up with power tools, or you can caress it with hand tools. Which one do you think you'll get the best result from? That's the way he spoke, in metaphor. This is a man who had a third grade education, but his metaphors are so clear and concise and based on what he did. You know, he'd tell me, you can build a beautiful house, but if it's on a weak foundation, it's junk. So foundation, life, you know, this is the way he spoke. That's why, you know, I hear his voice in my head all the time, like Obi-Wan Kenobi.